Today. All right. Hello, my name is Angela Holder from Booking Group Travel. So I am going to go over this week managing group cruises, and I'm excited that you've all taken the time to invest in yourselves today and learn more about group travel. So as we dive in, I've asked a couple of people in the chat right before we started to what do you hope to learn from this class today? Because that'll kind of get your creativity going. Like, how can I apply everything that I'm learning to myself, to how I want to form groups? As I mentioned last week, I'm pretty much going to do storytelling. I'm going to you a cruise that I worked on. And that hopefully that gives you some ideas on how to form your group. Now, every group is not the same. I've got a couple of group cruises going and other experience, then that will help you be a little more fluid in your thinking. All right. So let's move on. I'm just okay, there's my slide. So I'm just gonna help you understand my this was a group cruise that I worked on back in February 2023. I decided I want to do a group cruise. So I started the business in December 2023. And I'm like, I want to do a group cruise. I've been on many cruises myself, my husband and I, but never a group cruise. So I was like, well, how can I do this? And so I said, I want to do one for my birthday. So we did. I just, formulated a group, and I'll tell you a little bit how this is basically 17 of us, 8 cabins, 17 people. So that just give you a little bit of background. Not everybody knew each other. I was the guest of honor, but everybody didn't know each other. So I had to create some type of theme to like, how can we get the like icebreaker? How can we get everybody to know each other? So I'm going to do how to book a group cruise, but I'm not going to go really layers deep into how to book a group cruise because there are trainings for that. If you go to Krista Wiley's Travel by Tilly, she can tell you all things cruises and also how to book a group cruise. But because this is more about managing group cruises, then I'm going to really dive into that. But I want to give you just like a high level overview about how I booked the cruise, right? So the number one thing I did, and then remember, I had no experience in booking group cruise. So the number one thing I did is shop for online on the Consumer Cruise Line site. Now, someone asked just now, how do you find groups? I would say refer to my video from last week, and that's more about how to find groups. Now, so the number one thing I did is I went on the Consumer Cruise website, and that was Royal Caribbean for me. So I went on royalcaribbean.com, just like any other consumer would go on, and then just typed it in. And I said, okay, when do I want to go? I want to go around my birthday. I actually want to be on the cruise ship. Well, I don't want to pick an itinerary that's too long because it's February. People have to take off work. So maybe I'll do a 5-night. So that's what I did. And then I was able to call the groups department and just give them the information that they need, right? So they don't need to know, who's coming, what their names are, not yet, not to form the group. So these are the things that you can provide, right? The number of staterooms. So I knew that I wanted a group. Initially, I was like, maybe I could do a group of 16. But that's kind of like I didn't never managed a group before. So I was like, I'll do a group of 8. So most groups, it's not really considered a group until you have 8 cabins. So that's what I did. I just did the 8. But you could do, if you wanted to go large and go 16, you can say, I want a, 8 ocean view and 8 balcony. You also, there are categories that are midship, right? That's a different category than balcony that's not midship, that is in the forward or in the aft. So you can ask all of those questions. Where do you want to be? In the middle doesn't have as much rocking, so I usually try to get my people in midship. And if you do it far enough in advance, remember I said I started this in February 2023 for a cruise in February 2024. So giving yourself time gives you enough time to think about things as well. The name of the ship, you go on the consumer website, you look at the dates that you want to go, and then you also look at the ship name will also be there. Double occupancy, most groups are double occupancy. You can do more, but let's start with the skeleton, right? You come to the groups department with the skeleton and they're going to put meat on the bones. They'll tell you what they need, but these are the pretty much the what the basics that they need. Okay, so then you're going to get a verbal for the gratuities and the travel protection. And the reason why I say a verbal, because you can't really apply gratuities and travel protections until you have names. So you're going to get a number. What's the quote? What is the amount for the total gratuities for this trip? Write that down. And then what is the travel protection for a balcony room or a suite or an ocean view room? Now, the travel protection amount will be different. And the reason is because that suite costs more to travel protect than it does for an interior room, right? So you're going to get quotes on those and write those down. Now, this is important that you have it so that you can give it to the overall package. When your friend says, well, how much is it going to be to go? You can include gratuities and travel protection for that type of room, right? So getting these from the groups department is pretty important. And then the next thing is you want to shop for, on the consumer site, but this is my itinerary. And so I picked the cruise and then I picked the itinerary. And I did this based once again on, where do I want to go? So I had it where everyone met in Miami, they booked their own flights, they booked their own hotels. And like I said last week, your first group, try to make it your own. You're the one who's going to be on it. You can get the kinks out. You can feel the experience. Your family and your friends are going to have a lot more grace with you. So try it to do your first one on your own. Make it yours. But you're going to be professional at the same time, and you're going to manage it well. And then your friends and family are going to definitely shout out your name, right? So for this one, everyone booked their own flights and hotels, and they were fine with that. We arrived the day before, get to the ship on your own, and we're going to meet in a conference room at 6:30. So I'll go into a little more about how I was able to secure the conference room on the ship a little later. And then the 18th was the day at sea. That was my actual birthday. And that was formal night. And I'll show you or explain to you how I knew it was formal night, dinner and a show all together. February 19th, Jamaica group excursion. I'll explain more about how I was able to manage a group excursion. Cayman, everybody on their own. Remember, this is their vacation too, right? So they probably want to go on their own and do a couple things. So that I had that strategically placed in there, as well as a day at sea on their own. Did they want to go to the spa, play cards, do nothing, whatever they wanted to do, and giving them that space to do it. So you don't want to jam pack your itinerary with things to do, everything. Then people don't feel rested. They feel like they were on the go the whole time. And there's people who want to be on the go the whole time, and they can refer to their app and they can run around the ship and do whatever they want. And there's some people who want to relax. Your job is to cater to the entire group, the needs of all, not just one type of mindset in one group. So just consider relaxation and the balance of like high intensity. So, and then we've got February 22nd. That's when we disembark. in Miami, but we weren't ready to go home yet. We wanted to do one more thing together. So we did a little tour in Miami. So this is just the basic itinerary that I had. And then I'll go through the details of it all and managing that. So, just when you received your group confirmation back via email from the groups department, you're going to get, are your number of staterooms correct? The category mix, remember we were like maybe 8 ocean view, maybe 8 balcony. Is that correct? The dates, are taxes included? Because we're gonna have to add that all in to give our guests the pricing. So then you have the group's deposit and the deposit per stateroom. Now, these are 2 different things. And sometimes when you get larger groups, you're going to have to pay a group deposit. There's some cruise lines that don't require it, like Holland America, like I mentioned last week, but there are some that do, like Royal Caribbean. On this particular cruise that I set up, there was no group deposit. And so question is, if you go over the reserved amount of rooms, can you reserve more? Yes, you can always add on. Now, the caveat to that is if you're going to add on rooms, they're at that current pricing. So you might have some rooms that, are going to be at higher cost, and then some rooms that are at the initial great group rate pricing. So you have to consider that. Also, on that topic, there's a Royal Caribbean in particular. I'm not sure about the other cruise lines, but Royal Caribbean in particular has a recheck tool, recheck pricing, which is great. On this big cruise I have coming up for the marriage retreat, I called in, needed something else, and I said, hey, can you just check the pricing, the current pricing? And the pricing went down. And guess what? I rebooked the entire group at the lower pricing. So, but I didn't tell the clients that because I collected the same deposit. Otherwise, your monthly payment goes up and down. And who wants that, right? Keep them paying the same amount, then they just pay it off sooner. And that's great news for them, right? And more money in their pocket. And then you look like the hero. So the recheck or pricing tool with Royal Caribbean is amazing. Now, you can get really if you get great pricing up front, then you don't really have to worry about it. If it goes down, that's wonderful, but try to get good pricing up front. So anyway, I was talking about adding the gratuities and the travel protection. Remember, we said, make sure we take a note of that. We're going to add that into our stateroom pricing. And then we're going to give our friends and family, this is the entire package rate. Like it's going to be, $2,000. And so you can either say it's going to be $2,000 or you can help them and know what the monthly payment is. And also the group excursion, transportation, gifts, prizes, whatever you're going to pay for those type of things, just to round it off, round figures about how much you're going to spend, and then have that in a separate bucket. Now, I did not merge all of these 2 together. You could, but for me, I decided to break them apart. The cruise bucket, how much you were going to pay for their cruise, all things cruise, gratuities, travel protection, the actual fare, just that. And then the excursion was separate. I did not tell them pricing of the excursion and transportation until final payment. And I'll tell you a little bit why I did that later on. Okay, so spreading the word. Now it's time to get those invites out. Like, who wants to come? Like, do you want to come? It's my birthday cruise. I got that communicated to everyone. And basically the way I communicated was, you give just the pertinent information, paint the vision, right? Here's the dates, the destination, the deposit amount, monthly payment. Now, deposit and monthly payment are 2 different things. Deposit could be usually about $200, $250, and the monthly payment could be higher, right? It could be lower, but if you have it stretched out, if you get a great rate and it's stretched out over a lot of months. But in most most times it's usually higher. So make sure you're communicating both those numbers. And the way that I calculate the monthly payment is I calculate the total and minus the deposit amount, and then I count the number of months, and then I, divide it by those number of months. And I usually try to give myself some wiggle room and say final payment is due 2 weeks before the real final payment date. So give them a soft final payment date, because if you go right up until the ship's final date, you don't have any wiggle room for, oh my goodness, I forgot that, I had this extra thing to pay, and then they can't pay for their cruise and they're right at the deadline. So you never want to do that. And give a soft date. And then provide the client with like your intake link or form. How are you going to capture the names, the date of birth, the cabin type? You need all of that. And so sometimes they have loyalty numbers, the payment amount, how much are they supposed to pay per month? You need all of that. And then you're going to also send them credit card authorization form with the full price of the cruise and the monthly payment. Okay, so the full price of the cruise, and this is the way I did the credit card authorization form. I did the full price, and then I did the deposit amount, and then the monthly payment. And I said, okay, your monthly payment is going to be from March until October or November, right? So from March to November, you're going to pay this amount per month. That one credit card authorization form is going to cover the entire cruise. So every month, you're going to take out that certain monthly payment amount, and you're going to have that credit card authorization covers that, because you're very clear about what's going to happen. Hey, client, customer, friend, this is how much the total cruise is. This is how much the deposit is. And initially, I'm going to take this out now. And then this is how much your monthly payment will be. And what they're doing is they're signing to that, right? When they sign to that. So if there were any discrepancies, you have that documentation in that file for yourself, right? And then there's clear communication between you and them. They know what's going to happen, right? So hopefully, I think I saw a question in regards to credit card authorization. Yeah. So you don't need a credit card authorization every time, just that one. And then talk about the vision, right? Where are we gonna go? Create the hype, get them excited. They're gonna tell other people. It's gonna be, you can create. So if you're creating a group, especially affinity group that you don't know any of the people, you wanna create the hype so they can tell other people. It's only, $900, and it's $100 a month. And oh my goodness, that's great. And stick with the monthly payment, guys. When you're communicating, don't always go, it's this amount. You're going to tell them that when you send them the form. But when you give them a monthly payment and give them what it is bite size, they're going to feel better about it. They're going to go, I can do $200 a month, right? So collect the credit card authorization for the full amount and monthly payment. And then I collect passports in lieu of driver's license, especially for a cruise. You're gonna need it anyways. So might as well use that as your identification for your credit card authorization form. And then when now it's time to berth the cabin, you've got your people, they're said here, they put it in your intake form, and then now you're ready to do the to assign a name to the cabins. Now remember, the groups department only has your cabins saved and secure, but they don't have names to them. Now you have to either pick up the phone and call the groups department and say, I have name of Angela Hines, here's her date of birth, we want double occupancy, this is the name of her husband, date of birth, pretty much all you need to get those cabins assigned. And then if you have their credit card authorization and they're called them and get their credit card number, then you can pay with that agent right on the phone, right? You're getting them assigned and you're paying the deposit. You can also, I used Cruising Power. I really suggest you take their training. If you're going to do groups, take the cruise lines training so that you know how to use the travel agent portal. You're gonna want to see ship maps and different things, and you can actually birth these cabins yourself if you're trained. But if you're not and you're ready to go, I do not knock that. And hey, I don't have time to take that Royal Caribbean training, but I have a group in the brewing right now. Then call them as many times as you want. Don't apologize, because they're there for you. Okay. So now we have that the cabin is assigned. Use your CRM tool. I use Travefy. You can use Traveljoy. There's some other ones out there to schedule reminders and your payment dates. You have other things going on, so you're gonna want to remind people of when things are due. Even though you have a credit card authorization form and you maybe have agreed that the monthly payment is going to come out on X date, I still send a reminder. I send a reminder saying, hey, I'm going to charge your card on May 13th. Is that okay? Is that still okay? Do you authorize? And people are, oh, yeah. You know what? I actually got my taxes. I want to pay the full amount, right? When you're touching your clients and your customers, at every step of the way, what tends to happen is they go, oh yeah, that trip. And you know what? Thank you so much for asking. I feel taken care of. I feel like she has my interest in mind. She didn't just take my money and not even talk to me, right? So I'm touching base and saying, hey, remember you got a payment coming up. Is it still okay if I take it out on this date? And then they say, yes, that's great. So do that. And then, also create, travel tips and tricks and things. Did you know to make sure that you're always communicating your value? You have value, and so make sure they know about it. So communication is key, right? So I can't stress the amount of that you can over communicate. It is okay. No one's ever going to say she told me too much, right? But over communicate, because they need all this information, even if it's through Firehose, right? But they will refer back to it, especially if you're using something like Travefy. They can go back to that itinerary. What did she say about this? Or what is it? So if it's there and it's documented, then in your communication, it's going to be really advantageous to both you and your client. So the payment structure, right? What are they paying for? When? Why? Make sure you communicate that. Credit card authorization, the group excursion, what are they doing, right? And I'll go into more detail about the group excursion, but basically I had a completely different credit card authorization form for that, right? And I needed to communicate that. I had a completely different amount. I was dealing with different vendors. So I did it in a different way, but I didn't want to confuse my client. So that's why I did them separately. I do have a cruise coming up where everything is together, because that's what my client wants, right? So we just have to be very like, what is tailored to the client's needs, not ours, right? So send individual receipts. This is something that I do as they're paying it off. I send them a receipt in their email, and I go, this is the receipt. Especially when it's getting closer to them paying it off, only, $200 more left, right? And then when they pay it off, oh my goodness, the cruise is paid off. And what I did here is I was like, okay, the cruise is paid off, guys. We did it. Everything's done. And they were like excited about it. And remember, cruises have to be paid off 90 days before travel time. So this cruise was paid off in November, and we were leaving in February. So that gives you some wiggle room. This is when I introduced the group excursion. Now, I don't want everybody to feel like they have to do the group excursion with us, but I offered it. I mentioned it in my itinerary, and more information to come. And then I said, if you want to be in the group excursion, and we're doing this, this, and this, and it's 300, I think it was $200 or $300, right? And people go, oh, consider it. Either they have to figure out what they're going to do on their own, or they have to or they're going to pay for the excursion that I'm offering. So that was something that was great. But now they've got those 3 months to, okay, well, I can give you $100 a month, which was less than what they were paying. They're already in the rhythm of paying, guys. They've been paying for a couple of months. So something more that you've added is not that big of a deal. So if you got that 3-month wiggle room and you say, hey, would you like to do this excursion with us? They're going to go, yeah, I actually didn't have an excursion plan. Sure. Right. And so they're going to pay for the one that you're offering. And then sending individual receipts. I talked about that, and staying connected. So we did a WhatsApp. I made sure everybody got that on their phone so that we can stay in communication. The cool thing about that is you've got Wi-Fi on the ship. You can stay connected via the app. Mostly everybody bought the internet package. I had one person use their, I don't know, they figured out some way online to use their computer as a hotspot and use that as internet. But anyway, I'll figure out how to do that. I'd love to do training on how to get internet that you're already paying for on the ship. So we used WhatsApp. I did videos. Now, I did this closer to when we were leaving. Remember, think about it. If someone tells you something 6 months in advance, you might not remember it. But if you tell them a month or 2 weeks before they're about to leave, it's like it's retained because you're looking forward to that trip. So I did not do my WhatsApp link and send that out to them until maybe 2 or 3 weeks before we were going to leave. And I introduced everybody. Hey, tell us what's your name and what you're looking forward to the most in this trip. Then everybody chimes in, and then everybody, what happens is you go, oh, this phone number that I don't recognize belongs to Angela Hines. Oh, let me put her number in, right? So now you're going to know who everyone is in that chat, and then everyone's saying what they're looking forward to. So then when you see each other on the ship, maybe you don't know each other, you go like, oh, you're the one who likes, to collect shells, that kind of thing. So there's a little familiarity in that WhatsApp that's happening. So that's a great way to manage that. And then also you stay connected on the ship as well. I did videos. There were a handful of people, good handful of people out of the 17 of us that this was their first cruise. So I had to communicate, just some of the things that they might not know, and especially the muster drill. Like, if they've never cruised before, what is that? And why do we need to do it? And just kind of, this is what you need to anticipate. And it really helped relax everyone to go, okay, I know what this is. I know why they're going to do it. Also, helping them navigate the check-in process on their phone, that you're going to get a time for your check-in. You want to put your passport information. Did you do that? Now, I did this via video. I just created a video online. I gave them the link. I dropped it in the WhatsApp. We're already connected, right? I dropped it in the WhatsApp and they watched it and they're like, okay, if they had any questions, now the questions are being asked in the WhatsApp and it's maybe helping someone else that had the same question. So now you're starting to really join and manage the group as a whole. This is your community now. This is your team. Okay, and then so using videos is just a different form. For so long, I've been using email and I've been using my Travelify site, and that's great. But now it's coming time. They need to see your face. You're creating hype. What's the fun? What are you going to do? Get them excited. And now, and then I use the Travelify itinerary. How are we doing on time? I want to give you guys time for questions. I'm going to share my Travelify itinerary. Did you guys want to see that, or you want to just keep going? What are you thinking? I'm going to see my itinerary. Okay. Okay. All right. We got some votes here. So I am going to put this in here. So this is my itinerary. Make it bigger. You guys see it? Yeah. Okay. So we have, this is, it's time to party, their cruise is paid in full, to get them excited about it. And then I told them, I told them about the, I told them about the app, gave them hyperlinks on, they can click on it if they've never had the app before. Like I said, I had cruisers that hadn't ever cruised before. So we did that, and then gave them, a little picture. This is my flights. I did not book their flights, but what I did do is I asked for their itinerary. Hey, did you book your flight yet? Right. So I'm managing it. I'm asking them, did you book? Yeah, I actually did. Or no, I haven't. When do you plan to do that? Right. So people get busy, but you might not be booking the flight for them, but it is important that you manage the group, right? So when are you going to do that? Oh, I'll do it this weekend. Okay, I'll follow up with you on Monday. And then when they do book their flight, they send it to you. And then you put it in their personal Travefy, page. Now I made separate Travefy pages for each of them because they were doing different things. If we were doing one group and everyone was on the same flight, then it would look like this, right? But these were my flights. And then we did transportation. Everybody got their own hotel. Did their own transportation to the actual hotel. So this was for my husband to be able to see what we were doing too. Got an amazing rate at the JW Marriott because we use our Marriott discounts, right? So got to do that. Stayed there one night. It was phenomenal. And then we get to the port the next day. Get to the port, have the address, what dock are we going to? I told them that love the rates. I told them my check-in time. I checked when was their check-in time. It's good to know what everyone's doing. This is something that comes in when you have Travefy. You put in your the ship, and this amazing information comes there. And they also give you the entire deck plan, which is great because if you click on it, it will take you to the ship map, which is awesome, right? And now everyone knows where they're actually going. So on the ship, they know where you are, what floor they're on. They get to see the entire thing. So I did that. And then I have our meet and greet. We were in the Jamaica room, which was really cool because we were going to Jamaica. And so we had the Jamaica room. I will tell you a little bit more about how I was able to secure that. The day at sea was my actual birthday, dressed to impress. It was formal night. And the way I knew that was formal night, as I joined an Independence of the Seas Facebook page, and people kind of collaborate and talk on that. I highly suggest it. If you don't create one yourself, if you don't have your own Facebook page for your group, say you have a large one, then join someone else's. And it's usually a travel agent that created that site, and that's okay. But I'm not trying to solicit or anything like that. I am just trying to gain information. I also encourage my group to join that Facebook group. And the reason why is that they learned so much more, and they get to meet other people that are going to be on the ship. I already feel secure about my service to them that I'm not threatened from them joining a Facebook group. That especially if it pertains to the ship that they're going to be on. The more comfortable you can make your clients, the better. And sometimes that's with information. So I found a YouTube link about the entire cruise tour, entire ship tour. And so I gave them that, and people loved it because they felt like, oh, I know where this is, or, oh, I didn't know they have this kind of cafe. So by the time they get on the ship, they're a lot more familiar. I did our group excursion, tell you a little bit about that. I booked the Blue Water, the Royalton Blue Waters Resort. It's an all-inclusive resort. It's 10 minutes from Falmouth Port. And they have lounge chairs and they have a Jamaican lunch, lazy river, it's all inclusive. So remember, the drinks are free. So people might not have bought their drink package on the ship, but boy, did they drink when they got to the Royalton Blue Waters, right? So the cost per person was $250. Now, that was for the transportation from the port, right? We had a driver, so the transportation and the resort, which I got day passes for everyone. And then we did the transportation back. And I also was able to reserve cabanas, 4 cabanas for our entire group. And those cabanas had infinity pools attached to them, which was amazing, right? And then you get butler service with that as well. So tell them all about that, create the hype. Now, who's not going to want to do that excursion, right? And then everybody end up doing it, but you kind of leave it open if they want to do their own excursions. If they did, here's my Project Expedition site for them to book an excursion if they don't want to do what we're doing in Jamaica, and give them that freedom. The Cayman Island, the next day, we were on our own. Feel free to explore, do what you want. Remember, give them, this is their vacation too. So Project Expedition, I have my link there in case they wanted to book an excursion, and then also my Viator link. Okay. We were going to do a 2-tank dive that came in, and then depart I think at 6 p.m. Yep. So then the next day was a day at sea, relax. Once again, here's the link to the ship. Remember, you have your Royal Caribbean app. I put that in there so they can refer to that for any type of itinerary needs that they want to do that. So now we're the day to disembark. We're going to meet for breakfast. So I was very clear about let's all, let's be sure to get breakfast. So I'm letting them know, because maybe we have a lot of first-time cruisers. Hey, they don't want to, make sure you eat, right? Because we don't know our flights, pretty much all of us, because I remember I knew what everyone's flights were. Pretty much all of us didn't have a flight leaving until like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. And so we're getting off the ship at 7 in the morning, or 6:30. Look at this time, 6:37 in the morning. So the ship arrives at 6:30, but maybe you can get off. You don't have to leave when they tell you to leave. You can get off, you can eat breakfast, and then you can leave. So we did that. And then we were able to stay in touch on WhatsApp. We're able to secure a van, and they took us, and took us to breakfast and waited for us, and then took us to some other excursion. I'll tell you more about that. All right. And then we went to the airport, and we all went our separate ways after that. Let me jump into the chat. Do you use the excursions so I didn't use the excursions that the cruise offers. And the reason for that is I wanted to keep my group together, especially for Jamaica. Now, for Cayman Island, they were free to do whatever they wanted. If they wanted to use the Royal Caribbean app, which some of them did, they were like, oh, it's here, I'm going to book this, right? But I also, had some people who like to plan in advance. And it was like, well, Angela has a link. Let me look what some of the excursions are. And in my video, I encourage them, do price comparisons. Look at my pricing and look at the cruise ship pricing. So you want to educate, but you're influencing their decision by letting them do price comparison. But at the same time, you don't want to force them and say, this is what we're doing, right? So you got to figure out your group. I knew my group liked flexibility, so I gave that to them. And then the other question from Brenda is, have you ever booked an entire ship? I'm working on this with the customer now, and would love to be able to reach out to you for some assistance. Yeah, let's talk about it. I have not booked an entire ship. I have booked 200 rooms, but not an entire ship. But I don't think it's that much different than doing what I'm doing. It's pretty much copy, paste, cutting. And you just have to work with the groups department a lot more. And now I'm about to jump into that. If there's no more questions, then I will jump into a little bit more on how. Okay. Here it is. All right, so we're going to talk about ship preparations. What I did I have to contact the events team. So you have the groups department, you booked your group already, and now you have to contact the events team to say, you know what, I need a meeting space. Remember, I said I wanted to have meeting space for everybody to get to know one another. I've known these people at different stages of my life, roommates from before I got married to people that I just met. Right. And there was one person on there that I didn't know at all. I just met them, right? Because they came with a friend of mine. So you want everybody to meet. And how do you do that? Let's just rent some event space, set up a table, have some chairs, and talk, do a meet and greet, have a game ready, icebreaker or something, get gift bags. I gave everybody a lanyard that they could put their room key in. I gave everyone the bags that you put your phone in, the secure for like the plastic bags that you, I don't even know what you call them, but they protect your phone for when you go in the pool and water and stuff like that. So they were super stoked and really excited about that. I also gave them magnets. Yes, water safe bags. And then I also gave them magnets to put on their door, some fun little sayings. One that was just an anchor and had like a place where they could write their name, gave them pins, they could write silly stuff on their door. So as we passed each other's doors, we were able to see messages. Some people put their names on them, all different things. So something where everyone's like, they weren't expecting this little package. You can get all of that stuff on Amazon. Now notice that it cost nothing, guys. To book this room was nothing. You just got to do it in advance. You just got to call. And there wasn't any AV needed. And even if it was, it wouldn't cost anything. I have a group I'm working on now, and the AV doesn't cost anything. If you do want food and beverage, it does cost. So that's the only thing if you want that. So a lot of like my big meeting that's happening in November, they're like, wait, we spent thousands of dollars at the Marriott for, you mean to tell me we pay nothing for this conference room? And like, no. So in fact, your guests are paying for their cruise, and it's covering the cost for everything, right? That's the benefit of being in a group. So water, like if you wanted water, tea, coffee, Jeanette, that cost $2.50 a person is the last number that I had in my head for a group that I'm working on now. But that will change per ship. It will change, change based on circumstances. So you need to meet with the events team to get their pricing. You tell them how much time you want in that room, right? So if you needed, have an event I'm working on and I need the entire day, basically you're going to tell the events team what you need and they're going to see if it's available. There is a cruise that I am working on for 2025, and that group cruise, they are, I had to change the entire ship because there wasn't any conference room available. So I went back to my client and I go, February is not going to work. We need to do March. They gave me an option to go on this ship. Here's the itinerary. It's very similar, but this one has a conference room, and that one doesn't. Here we are, 2025, and that room is booked, right? So I say, contact that events team as soon as possible so you can get your space. And you really can't do it before you set up the group, because you need the group in order to contact the events team. So at first I thought, well, maybe I should have got the room, but you can't until if you don't have a group itinerary number, they're not going to even talk to you. So hopefully that makes sense. Yeah, so those were a couple of the pictures of us in the room acting silly. And then contact the events team for dining as well. Okay, so I wanted everyone, the only thing I asked, that was really kind of stringent about, was like, can we just eat together every night at 8:00, right? So our dining time was 8:00. That's why I strategically did our meet and greet at 6:30 to 7:30. And then we were able to go to dinner after that and mingle a little bit more. So, but every night I wanted to have dinner together. But I'm not going to leave it up to the dining team to put us together. I need to tell them. So with this form, they give you this form, they email it to you, and you fill it out and you tell them, I want these people at table 1. I want these people at table 2. So that's why that form looks like that and have some 2s. And then also there's special codes for special requests. There was 4 February birthdays. And so instead of it, I know it's my birthday, but there's other people I want to celebrate as well. So I put then, the BRTH for birthday next to their name and the date I wanted, the happy birthday sung to them. So some of February birthdays passed, some were coming up, and so what we did is celebrate them and different days. And I was able to put the dates I wanted there. And then, so here they come with a candle and cake, and we sing to them. And these people did not expect it. They were there for my birthday, but doing a little something extra makes it memorable. Now they have pictures and they're on a cruise and they just feel so special. Don't you think that those are going to be repeat clients for me? Absolutely. We're making memories, right? So the next thing we did is there's called gap points. So I allocated gap points. Now these are very specific to groups. Gap points don't come are not given to you if you don't book a group. But if you do, it stands for Group Advantage Program. And you usually get about maybe depending on your group size. My particular group size with 8 cabins, I got 4 gap points. And as you can see, 1 gap point got me a fruit plate for every room. So all 9 rooms that I had, I was able, I had 9 rooms. I was able to put a plate of fruit in there for them. That's great. At no cost to me, it was just use the gap points. I got bottled waters on the first day, the fruit plate. I was strategic about when I got this amazing Royal Caribbean bag. I had that tote bag put in each of the rooms, and that was on the 18th because that was not only my birthday, but it was the day before we're going to Jamaica. So you got a bag, you put your towel in, and it's so cute because when we went to dinner that night, everyone was like, I got this cool bag. And I'm like, you did, you're welcome. And they're like, oh my goodness, you get that bag for us. That's so cool. And I was like, you guys have it for your towels and all your items for tomorrow. And they're like, yes, I needed this bag. And so especially the ladies, they were all over it. So hopefully that helps you with engaging with the groups department. There's so many goodies that are to be had when you're doing groups. So group excursion, I'm going to go a little deeper dive into how I did that. So the group excursion planning, I scheduled a site visit on the property in October 2023. Now, special circumstances for me, my husband's from Jamaica, we have family there, so I was able to go before my trip. If you're not able to do something like that, then you could make sure you get with a coordinator and you're calling. Your research is already done. I found out that this particular Royalton Blue Waters Resort was only 10 to 15 minutes away from the port. That's great, right? So that my transportation time is not that long. It was all inclusive, family friendly. so I've got that part down, something that I wanted. It was beautiful, right? Even if you look at the pictures online, you can see that they're beautiful. I confirmed that they allowed day passes, right? Day passes are great. And just a little sidebar here. Did you know that if you register and you do the training for sandals, you can get day passes for you and your significant other for free? You can go to sandals all day, right? So try to use your perks, right? Use that go. Then so I set up a site visit and use that. Yes, Karina, date and used my day pass. And it was me, my husband, and my son. We went there. We were able to talk to the coordinator, meet property, do a site visit, stay there. We had a cabana, and I was like, this is where we're having my birthday. And so when we got there in February, kind of, I was very familiar with the cabana, the butler service, and all of that. My husband has a friend that, yes, one time a year. But there's lots of sandals resorts, so you could use them. When I was in Jamaica in October, I went to 2 sandals resorts on day passes. So you can use them, you don't have to only go to one, but it's one time per year per resort, if that makes sense. Yes, take advantage of it. So I was able to reserve cabanas with butler service, the transportation. My husband has a friend that has a 30-passenger bus. So we were able to secure that bus. Yes, we paid him. That was included in the package and the tip and everything, but he was significantly lower than someone else. Some of the other transportation that I looked at, right? So that was part of the package. And then you have to communicate the pricing, right? So what does all of this cost? And then break it down per person. If you want to pad in, remember I talked about gifts and, if you want extra commission, I don't know, what do you want in there to make that package? So each person paid, I think it was $250, $500 a couple for the excursion. But if you look at the excursions on the Royal Caribbean app or other cruise ships, they're expensive. So people are expecting to pay for an excursion. And let me tell you, it was well worth it. I overheard one of the guests saying, yeah, $250 for all of this. You got the ocean, you've got, the pool, there was a lazy river, there were, so I'm going on and on when I can actually show you, right? So these are some pictures from the group excursion in Jamaica. This is our bus. We just having a great time. This is our cabanas with the infinity pool. Look at our butler service. He was amazing, bringing us drinks and lots of food. There was a jerk chicken station we were able to eat at. There was the slides. Yes, very impressive to have a drink on his head. I thought it was classic. And, look at the resort. Beautiful. Absolutely beautiful. Everyone was like, let's get in that water, the bathtub water of Jamaica. It was amazing. So we were able to do that. And we took a group photo so many times. I'm like, we gotta get group photos. So yeah, we had an amazing time planning, going on this. But I had the vision, and how do you implement the vision, right? So that's the groups. And I talked to you a little bit about Miami, right? So we did a passenger van. We were able to get it for 3 hours for $80 an hour, right? And so everybody paid, but 20 some bucks. Yeah, the luggage. I thought that was impressive. Like, he was like a master at Tetris. He's like, put them all in. Like, it was amazing how he put all the bags in. So we were able to have our bags secured. You know how amazing that is when you're going all around Miami and you get out and you want to have lunch. and you don't have to carry your bag with you, right? So this was really a cherry on top of our experience. We were able to get out, we get a passenger van, and they took us to eat at this amazing Cuban restaurant, waited for us in the van. We brought him some pastries and drink, made sure he was taken care of. And then he took us to the Versace mansion, which is where we're in front of this group picture. And we did that. And then he took us to Little Havana, where we were able to do shopping and just really hang out and be in Miami a little bit, right? We was like, we don't want to go home yet. So this was absolute cherry on top for us to be able to be together. And then he took us all to the airport. Now, even though we had separate flights, here we are arriving all together. Here we are able to say goodbye, our last goodbye, not at the ship, but at our destination, which was the airport. So that just was another kind of added, like, oh, one thing I did not have to think about. Angela took care of that, right? So I think, definitely you can plan on the front end, the pre-cruise and the post-cruise travel is important. I chose to just do the post-cruise travel. And I will just say, guys, don't forget the survey. If it's friends, family, clients, people don't know, still send them a survey, because it's really important that they give you feedback, whether it be good or bad, because you're going to learn from the constructive criticism, and you're also going to be really encouraged by the accolades that you get. Like, Mauro here said that he didn't have to, he felt like everything was on a silver platter. And I just felt so great about that. I didn't know that's how he felt, right? But when he got the survey, this is what he put it, that everything was a breeze. And so that's what I wanted. I wanted him to have that experience. I wanted all of them to have that experience. And these surveys, like, I have it here where, go to Yelp, go to Travel Leaders, go to Instagram, Facebook, and he chose Yelp, which is very helpful for me. So that is in a nutshell what I've got. What questions do we have, guys? Got a couple more minutes, and I'm happy to stay on longer if you're able to as well. Remember, we asked, what do you want to learn in the beginning? So let me go. Group cruises, hopefully that helped. Very informative. Great. I'm so glad you're motivated, Shirley. How do you help someone in a group if they lost their luggage tag before disembarking? They lost their luggage tag. Oh, so if it's like, it depends on when it happens. If it happens like the night before, you can go to guest services, right? If it happens and it's the day of and they can't, find it, there are ways you can take your luggage yourself. I always leave with my own luggage. I go to breakfast, I leave my luggage in my room, and then I go to breakfast, and then I come back, I get my luggage, and I leave when I want to leave. So that's how I do it. But you can always go to guest services at any time, and all you need is your actual room card. Have you done groups with children as well? Like a family group? I've done not a big group. It was like a smaller family. They have 4 children, and then they had friends that came with them. So they had 4 children. Pretty much the same. You kind of like, when you're doing your intake form or your consultation, you kind of, what's the needs? Are they more, family centric, or do they need a date night? Kind of, that's how you would plan that. But pretty much cut and paste as far as the structure of how to do a group. It's the same. For the group, Janelle, about with the family, I had 2 rooms because they're with 6 people. I had a room with 4 and a room with 2. Mom and dad had an adjoining room with the kids. I'm so glad you like that. So if Courtney says, so if you wanted to do an infinity trip, say hold 8 rooms, but can't get them all booked, what happens? You can't get them all booked, then you can drop the rooms. You don't need to hold on to them. If you want to make more, if you want to increase them, that's when you have to pay that difference in pricing. But once you have that 8, then you can do it. Now, if you wanted to do, you give them pricing and you did not book the group, then the pricing could change. That's why I say go on the consumer website, find out what that pricing is, and call the groups department if you think it's great rate, and book it. Because especially with Royal Caribbean, even if it's that rate goes down, you get the lower rate. Yes. Yes. See you next week, Ben. You're welcome, guys. I'm so glad you guys had a good time. I'm so glad it was worth your time. I want to make sure that this stuff is worth your time. All right. Any other questions? If not, we are at the top of the hour. I am going to get going, and you can always contact me via email. Thanks for joining. Talk to you guys later. Oh, someone said, question, you mentioned going to consumer site as opposed to TA site. Is there a reason for it? Okay, just because I feel like the TA site's so convoluted. It's so easy to read the itinerary on the consumer site. It just is, right? And you know that the TA pricing is probably going to be a little lower. But if you're just looking for where to go, I think the consumer site, it's look in there. The itinerary is very easy to read, whereas the other site is a little more. Hopefully that answers your question. It's just optics. It's just how the aesthetics of how it looks. It's not really based on pricing. Yeah, you're welcome. You are welcome. All right, guys. See you later. See you next week for the next part. We're going to talk about booking blocks of rooms. So join me then.